Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the New Mainstream podcast,
where we explore the impact of multicultural consumers on marketing and media.
I'm your host, Mario Carrasco, and co-founder of Think Now. Everyone, welcome back to the New Mainstream podcast. I'm Mario Carrasco. Today is Monday, recording the day after the Super Bowl. Game's over. Ads have probably been dissected, but not in the way we're going to dissect them today from a cultural lens. Excited to have a return guest, someone who's built her career on helping brands understand that culture isn't a moment, but an ecosystem. Michelle O'Grady, founder and CEO of Team Friday, a creative consultancy and full-service agency working at the intersection of communications, culture, and community. I invited Michelle back because she wrote a great piece right before the Super Bowl, basically calling out the tension at the center of this year's cultural moment. The NFL obviously made a big bet on culture by booking the biggest artist in the world right now, Bad Bunny, while many advertisers defaulted to safe formulas, nostalgia, and celebrity cameos. So the title says it all, and excited for this conversation. The NFL's big bet on Bad Bunny. Why didn't brands run with it? So today, going to go through three topics. First, digging into the article and kind of pressure testing the thesis now that the show actually happened. Secondly, and hopefully the bulk of the show, talking about what we thought about the halftime show, maybe getting into some of the imagery and metaphors there. And then lastly, let's talk about some of the ads. So welcome back, Michelle.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so what let's start. Like, now that we saw the show, how did you feel about your prediction?
I feel like it was right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the show was coded with so many references in the best way. Like, I
Mm,
think for Latinos watching that show, there were so many universal messages, but I think also an invitation to understand the Latino culture in a way that like everybody's been dissecting it. It's been I was like looking at reels this morning. Um, but I think the way he did it was he didn't shy away from politics, as fun as it was. Like, everything was political, from the sugarcane to the electric post to
mm,
like the casita, like to just like so many coded political statements around Puerto Rico, but also an invitation for all Latinos to kind of be represented. We had our own Vias Tacos. I live 5 minutes away from them, so it was like what it was like I was that Leonardo DiCaprio meme pointing at the TV.
yeah, yeah.
Like, oh my God. And I think just I think the bridge with Lady Gaga and like having a conversation, and Lady Gaga's so revered by queer kids and like gay culture, LGBTQ culture, and she's so revered in that community. I think it was a direct nod to say that everybody is welcome here, like like he's opening up the world for everyone. I thought the most powerful moment, well, I'll start with my favorite moment. My favorite moment is him waking up the kid
Yeah.
on the sleeping on the three chairs, because I think that is so like that was so iconic. I was
Yeah.
that kid at every family party, at every wedding. Like, I want to go home, and my parents being like, "We're not leaving. Go sleep on the chairs, and then we'll wake you up," which
Yeah.
I thought was like so perfect. But I think the end where he's shouting out America and like the Americas, like not just the United States of America that claims the name, but every country that is a part of the Americas. I thought that was the most powerful part of the entire experience. Like,
Yeah.
the end was just so epic, and like seeing everybody represented, and then you realize like the United States of America in the context of all the Americas is one country, and you have what, how many Latino led countries Spanish speaking countries that are a part of the Americas. Like, I thought that was the most beautiful kind of metaphor of like, we are here, we've been here, we are a part of America. Like, that's the statement. And I thought, yeah, you
Yeah, there
couldn't
was
have
like such a
more.
cool history lesson there. I mean, I think I'm guilty of it. Like we tend to say, "Yeah, I'm American," and
Hmm.
like that's two continents, right? Like, so I think that's like a cool history lesson there globally, but like you mentioned, very centered in Puerto Rico. You know,
Yeah.
I've avoided kind of watching all the takes about the halftime show, and I think one thing for me that I think the thing that really stood out, or this message of unity, not just from like North and South America, but I felt like it was all anchored in a wedding.
Oh my God. So
And
gorgeous.
like
And a real wedding to boot. Like, how?
like a real wedding, right? I didn't know at the time, but like it's a real wedding. And I just was like, I don't know, like you were invited into what a Latino wedding party was like. And
Hmm.
um, made me feel like I'm getting political, but whatever. This whole podcast is probably going to be political. But it's like, how can you hate us? Like
Yeah.
being in this wedding, like anchored in two people, literally getting married on stage and with the kids there and the party, and I don't know. It was just
All
so
of it.
intimate
All of it.
and great.
And I think him not shying away from wanting that to be the center. I got, I was reading a lot on like how the show was coming together and like what Apple asked him, like what do you want the show to represent as they were creating the creative brief for what the show design would be. And we can talk about the craziness of the show design. I mean,
Right.
like, like making people the grass. Like, I just think it's so genius, like how everything was executed. But he said, I want this to be about everyone. I want this to be a show for everyone to be included. And I think he did that, but on his own terms, like not speaking English, not singing in English, not resorting to any sort of aesthetic or any sort of like conversation that he needed to change who he was in order to still get that message across. And I think if you've seen Bad Bunny's career, a lot of his career has been about that. I got to go see his residency in Puerto Rico, and I was blown away by like how much he brought people together and just the pride that he brings out in people for wanting to be together with their family and wanting to be accepted, and just those conversations that he continues to just have with his music. I think it was on full display, and I think you can't like watch that critically and not feel something, like not feel invigorated, not feel excited. Like, he was the large, I mean, it was 134 million people that viewed
Is
the
that
halftime.
I was wondering because so Kendrick was 133.
Yeah, so I mean, you can't, and let's just be clear. You cannot have a Bad Bunny show like this without Kendrick. Like, Kendrick set the stage and politically set the stage in a moment. We're both from Los Angeles, so I know we both like
Yeah.
Kendrick. But you can't have Kendrick needed to, like, Bad Bunny is standing on Kendrick's shoulders. He basically like took the baton and ran with it, and just did it in a different vibe and a different language, but similarly politically coded, similarly like not backing down from who they are, very authentic to who they are, and like staying true to that conversation. And I credit the NFL and Apple and Rock Nation for being allowing those conversations to happen. Like, they understand that to grow their brands, not, I mean, Apple, is there, but like for NFL to grow, they need to be okay with pop culture and the cultural moments of conversation being a part of the game. Like, they're bridging that gap, and I think that's essentially what my piece was about. Was like, the NFL gave so much cover for people to invest in this conversation and to get in, like, to literally get in the game of the conversation, and so many brands just didn't engage. And you can't grow without engagement at this point. And in this, like this, critical moment, like, especially because millennials are now going to they're in that sandwich generation. They're making critical decisions about their households, about their kids' lives. Like, that influence matters, and millennials are one of the most politically engaged groups of the population in America. So I think they knew what they were doing. And I just think like brands just like missed that moment to just like get off the sidelines. Like, sorry for all the football references, but like they missed the moment to like make their mark, you know?
Yeah, and like I mean, to your point though, the NFL, like let's be real, right? They're not known to take risks. Um, they have a history of racism, misogyny, really negative things. So they're not doing this from a social activism perspective.
No, not at
They
all. I mean, that's not
100% know.
altruistic.
Yeah, this is 100% a business decision, and I hate that it's made to be like this woke thing. It's like Bad Bunny is literally the biggest artist on the planet. And I was actually talking to somebody this morning. One could make the argument that he was the safe choice. Like,
Like, how do you not book the biggest artist on the
right,
biggest stage, right? Like,
right.
it is the biggest moment where people are tuning in from all over the world. There's a show in New Zealand, a morning show, and I catch the clips on social media, but I think it's called The Morning Shift. And the hosts are so fun and funny, and like, it's all New Zealand coded and Polynesian coded, and it's just so fun. But they actually came out to interview people during all of the pre Super Bowl activities, and
In
they
New
were waiting.
Zealand?
Yeah, and so they were in Santa Clara, they were in San Francisco, and they were like
Oh, they came
documenting.
out. Okay, okay.
Yeah, they were documenting like their experience in San Francisco for the first time and eating tacos and like just everything. They were like, these are the best. This is like the best Mexican food I've ever had, because obviously they're not having Mexican food as we know it in California and New
Right,
Zealand.
right.
But I thought what one of the most powerful parts was they showed their clip of them hearing the announcement of where the international games were going to be, and the Rams and the 49ers are going to play in Melbourne, Australia, which is very close to New Zealand, and they were so excited. And I think like that's the trajectory of the
Mm.
NFL, right? They are trying to grow a brand that has been so American, like coded and stronghold, and like they have to do it when the American brand is really suffering at this moment. I think politically, I think Americans are very divided. We're seeing this at the Olympics, we're seeing signs at the Olympics, and the NFL knows this. They know that they have to lean in and bridge the gap where our politicians and our politics are just not doing that. And I give them a lot of credit for they could have, they got a lot of backlash when this choice was announced. I think more backlash than Kendrick got, but Kendrick got his fair share of backlash, but I think Bad Bunny is a very different level of backlash considering the political backdrop. And I give them a lot of credit for not backing down. And, I got to go to the ANA Masters of Marketing conference in Orlando, and Tim Ellis got to speak, at the NFL. And I was really like interested in hearing what he was going to say, because, I've been in marketing for 25 years. I'm also mixed race. So like, I've been in those coded conversations a lot over my
Yeah.
career. And he just was unapologetic about it. He's like, we cannot grow by only giving uh, by only servicing one set of people. And here is an opportunity to service a lot of different people in this moment. I mean, Bad Bunny was the number one artist charting in China. Like, if they're going to grow the brand, you need to grow the people. Like, and we're not getting less diverse. That's just not what's happening anymore. I
And
hate to
so
say it,
to
you
that
know?
point, do you see this strategy as like both a way to diversify their US viewership
A hundred
as well as
percent.
globally? Yeah.
100%. I mean, there's 70 million Latinos. Um, they're definitely into Americana culture and like want to, if they're in America, they're here for a reason and they really believe in the American values. They truly believe that. my family came here in the early 1900s, so we've been here for over 120 years. It's like I am as assimilated into American culture as possible. But I think, they're competing with the World Cup. Like they're competing with soccer, they're competing with other sports
Mm.
that have invested in those conversations with Latinos. And so I think it was a concerted effort. I think it's going to pay off for them. Honestly, I think a lot of people are going to be more interested in tuning in and having conversations. They're going to have a game in Mexico City, Azteca Stadium, and like the group chat when that got announced was like crazy. Like everybody was like, "We're going to Mexico City." Like it's
Yeah.
4 hours from us. Like we're going to Mexico City for. And I'm not a football fan at all. Like I'm a baseball girly, but like I watch football because everybody around me watches football.
Yeah.
So I think I might be more invested now.
Yeah, so same. I'm not a football. I'm like a basketball, baseball, soccer guy, but same reaction when I heard about Mexico City and then like the rumors of the expansion team. I'm like, okay, that sounds cool.
Yeah. I mean, and if there's one thing we know about Mexicans is like if you go into Mexico and you meet Mexicans where they will come. They will follow. They are so prideful. And I think this is something that's really funny is like the way Americans are so culturally obsessed with being American. Mexicans are so culturally obsessed with being Mexican in Mexico, right? Like so nationalistic. And every time I'm there, I'm like, what is happening? Like I feel sometimes like I'm having American conversations with my cousins, but I think if they expand and they grow that base, like, they're going to have the following that they're investing in. It's just a matter.
Interestingly, I mean, this is a half baked thought, but I feel like the UFC is kind of leading in that, right? Like they've invested so much in infrastructure, actually getting
Mhm.
Mexican talent, because that's where it really starts, right? Like, yeah, there's a marketing and doing the exhibition games, but I think the UFC, what they got right is getting the talent, and
Mhm.
that's what we're about at the end of the day is like the stories,
Oh, the
and
stories. Yeah.
like I wonder if the NFL is kind of using that as a model. Because I know that
Yeah,
they're investing in American football through flag football and other like educational programs in Mexico.
yeah, totally. I think so. And I think what's funny about the UFC example is like Dana White has now said like I regret getting into politics. Because I think he's understanding the cost of aligning with politics that are not popular in its totality. And no one could, I think, predict how violent we would be in this moment in America. I think a lot of us are shocked. A lot of us are not shocked, but a lot of us are shocked by the amount of violence.
Mm.
And when you align so sternly with that, and then something happens. I mean, this is like a brand safety case study, right? Like if you don't know what the next 10 moves are going to be, you don't invest in like you don't push your chips in, right? You like let it kind of play out and then decide like does this still meet the brand values for the audience that I'm trying to build, because trying to capture audience again is so costly in this moment. Like there's just so many distractions, there's so many brands don't have the loyalty that they had 20 years ago or even 30 years ago. And so this is I think it's a case study in like brand safety. Like what are you connecting with in order, because you see that trajectory of growth. None of this is altruistic, all of it is a business decision. And like I love the coded, I love the symbolism, I love that they're leaning into that culture, but like it's a business play at the end of the day. And I think some people are getting it right and some people are getting it wrong.
Yeah, and anchoring it back to what you're talking about, going where the audience is going. Some other stats, like so, we did that Los Angeles research.
Mm-hmm.
Um, touched on the Super Bowl, but looked at like what are people doing around sporting events when we're talking about spend? Like, are you buying merch? Are you food, whatever? And we looked at it by generation.
Hmm.
So Gen Z investing the most in like event experiences, which was
Hmm.
awesome to see in the data because I love when you see things that are internally consistent, right? Gen Z's about real world experiencing, so going to watch parties, things like that. And then Latinos, they're spending the most when you look at versus like black, non-Hispanic, white, Asian, in terms of like just like putting events together, decorations,
Hmm.
things like that. Um, and that was cool. I mean, I went to a watch party last night. Our friends, one of them is Puerto Rican, and like they had like the whole casita theme. Like it was like the coolest Super Bowl party I've ever been to, you know? And like, I don't know if I've been to like an actual themed one. So
It wasn't just red, white, and blue, and
no,
beers
and
and
you had the white chair outside with like the
yeah.
door was decorated with like palm leaves. Like it was really cool.
And
Tostones.
talk about like meeting people, people meeting that moment too, right? Like
Right.
people are so invested that they're gonna get decorations. They're gonna like frequent their local businesses to get authentic food and authentic conversation. Like to have that authentic conversation on such a micro level that contributes to a macro conversation.
Exactly.
Like I think that bridge is such a huge miss. Like people miss that bridge, the bridging moment of culture, like how the micro influences are going down. I mean, like even for World Cup, like we're thinking, we just got access to some games and we're super excited. So, we're spending way too much money. We'll talk about that in another segment.
Yeah,
But,
if you're getting
we're
a
like,
suite, let us know.
yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying. But like I think, we're talking about like, oh, what are we going to wear? What are we going to do? Like what do we need to buy to participate in the culture of the moment,
Yeah.
and bridge that gap.
So I think this is like Rock Nation's last year, right? Like,
I think so, yeah.
do you have they announced who's taking over next? Like, what do you think is next? Because like I've
I
heard,
think I think it probably will just stay with Apple Music. And I
okay,
imagine, Rock Nation came in because of the Colin Kaepernick fiasco and, the way the NFL just didn't handle that right. And they understood, I think they understood what happens when you don't handle a situation the way most of your audience wants you to handle it. And leaning into to a smaller segment of voices in that conversation because they lost a lot of ground and then they had to do damage control. And like the Rihanna, J Lo, Shakira, Kendrick Lamar, Bad Bunny pipeline is the damage control that they're trying to send.
yeah,
And I think they've built a bridge with Apple Music. I'm so happy that Apple Music has taken it over because I think they really understand artists and they understand the creativity that comes with that artistry. And so I hope that they just keep it with Apple Music. I don't know, and maybe they'll have Rock Nation continue, but it'll be interesting to see who can continue to understand culture in that sphere, and continue to bridge that gap, so that they don't lose the ground that they did.
like
Like you're
so
losing
that's it.
7 years
Like
of investment, basically.
I'm curious what your opinion is. Like, there's been think pieces of like, okay, now how do I say this? You've had this kind of diverse set of musicians be highlighted in the halftime show. Obviously, again, it's a growth tactic, but people saying, all right, now we gotta go back to um, I don't know, I don't even know how you say it, but just like a non-diverse, halftime show. Like,
I know,
is
so
that
what
where
you're
it's
saying,
going,
like
or
you
is
need to
there
go
no
back to
going
like the
back?
Rolling Stones or,
Yeah,
but I think you could. I mean, let's not forget that Green Day opened the show. Like Green Day and Bad Bunny could not be further apart on the music spectrum, right?
right.
Like, and I think people were excited for Green Day.
Yeah, but like also that Venn diagram with like millennials, Bad Bunny, Green Day. I feel like
Totally.
those
No, totally
are.
fits in the Venn diagram. But I think there's a lot of artists that could take the baton
Mm,
and still, and you can get a rock artist that will do that. There's plenty of rock artists that if you're still trying to even tap into millennials and their kids, like that can take that trajectory.
yeah,
Like I think millennials are still how you would know this better than I do, but like we're still spending an exorbitant amount of money to see our favorite artists.
yeah, yeah,
Like I went to When We Were Young, like the second year that I was together, and I saw Green Day in person, and I was like, oh my god, this is like so excited. So I think you can find artists that are going to continue to bridge that gap, going to continue to push it forward, and culturally relevant to a lot of different people.
yeah,
Bad Bunny was, I think I think yes for Latinos, but yes for everyone. It was an invitation to participate in other culture. And I think and Kendrick the same way. Kendrick was very much for Black culture in America and very coded in that way. I never felt like that wasn't for me. I understood what it was, and Bad Bunny, inviting everybody to that conversation. I absolutely think there is a white artist that could do that too. Like
yeah,
I don't think that I think the lesson is like, how do you bridge the audiences and invite them in to
mm,
participate instead of it feeling very exclusionary, which I think is a lot of the time, the way the NFL has felt for people. I mean, like the history of the NFL has not been inviting for people of color. It just hasn't, right? And they know that they have to bridge that gap. And there are white artists that have like huge audiences with people of color. Like that, I think you can continue to meet that moment and meet people and like bring them in. And that's what I think the NFL strategy is really about, that, right? Like they're trying to bring people into the game. They're trying to bring people in and remind them that this is a game that everyone can play. I mean, their investment in flag football for women too, like for little girls, and like I just think like there's so many avenues the NFL is going in where they're inviting you to the game. Like everybody come to the game, and like artists just have to meet that moment, and I think there's a ton of artists that can.
and I do love your positioning in the article about like how the NFL set up just like such an easy home run for brands, right? Where like this is the biggest artist, biggest Latino artist, and to springboard off of that, because like let's be real, the game was so boring. Like they were
Oh
so
my God.
lucky to
I
have
mean, all those
Bunny.
memes of Bad Bunny getting more yardage than the Patriots, like
Yeah.
dead, you know?
So I'm like, okay, so I think everybody was excited for the show, and like there was brands that stepped up. To your point about young women, like I thought the Dove commercial was amazing. Like,
And consistent with their brand message. Like
right,
Dove has been about that for what, the good part of 15, 20 years now. Like super
yeah,
consistent, but still reminding girls that they can play sports just like boys, and in a very male dominated sport. To
exactly.
have that, I thought that was great too.
Yeah, and there's just like a through line, right? Like it just felt like the halftime show was so inclusive. Um, just so like so many like feminine elements were in it too. Just like I thought it was cool. Um, yeah, like let's get into the ad thing. Like what are some ads that you feel like? Let's start with the good ones. Like you mentioned some in your article. Like
Yeah. I mean, I think Elf Cosmetics probably was the one that every Latino was talking about. And I think it
yeah,
was such a good, funny play on meeting, like, trying to get included into the Super Bowl, right? Melissa McCarthy, like, here's the announcement. And then she immediately is like, I need to learn Spanish to, like, participate. And then, like, swings so hard she gets into a telenovela. Just like, which is, so I mean, like,
it hit
how
so many good things,
so
right?
many references, and telenovelas are American, are soap operas, right? Like
Right.
that's universal, right? Like everybody can think of a telenovela, and I think just their use of
Was that lady, by the way, the lady in the meme?
yes,
Like,
yes, she's
just
so
so,
iconic.
yeah.
Um, uh, it, I might say her name wrong, but Intati Cantoral, like,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, iconic telenovela star. Like, she's
Right.
in all the memes, gasping in Spanish, but like, I thought it was like a great use of like fun and playful and like just, bridging cultures together.
100%. Yeah. And I gotta see. Do you know who the agency was on that one? So many
Oh,
LA based agencies, by the way, as I was
yeah.
going through
Oh, you
this.
know what? It was 72 and Sunny Amsterdam.
Oh, Amsterdam.
Yeah, it was their Amsterdam office, which I was like, oh, that's funny. The one ad that went hard Latino is a global, is the
But
global.
like sometimes though, like sometimes I see that, like, obviously sometimes when you see ads in Europe and they like totally miss the mark and it's really bad. But sometimes, especially like 72 and Sunny, I know they're doing their research. Like, I think sometimes that fear of getting it wrong, a global agency really tries to get it right. I think
Yeah,
that's an example of that, right? Where they're like, "Damn,
mhm,
this is huge. We need to get it right."
totally. I
Um,
thought the other ones that were great stand out for me was like I loved Claude kind of pushing back on OpenAI, and the potential for ads. I think everybody knows that, OpenAI is testing ads and requiring media companies to invest, I think, like $200,000 to test it. I just thought like whether that's the functionality of what it's going to be, I think consumers in the conversation are really like there's so much skepticism around AI and like what it does and like, how are they taking my data and all of that stuff. So I thought it was a great play on that. The other one I
I
thought
thought
was like,
like in general though, like there was, I mean, full transparency, I don't watch very many ads, which is ironic because I'm in the advertising industry. But I thought there was a lot of AI ads, consumer
mhm.
facing AI ads, which is an interesting trend in general. Like, are there a lot of AI ads on TV in general? Because it felt like a lot.
I mean, there's an uptick in them. I don't know that I've seen a Claude ad. I've seen OpenAI ads and ChatGPT ads
There was the
before,
Alexa
and
Plus one, the
yeah, and the Alexa
Chris
Plus one,
Hemsworth.
and yeah, like well, they've had Alexa ads for forever, right? Like I think one of the spots running is with Lil Wayne, and he's talking to Alexa about not having dancers come to his house because he's hosting his 5-year-old niece's
Okay.
birthday party. He's like reschedule the dancers basically. It's like super funny. Um but I think, yeah, I mean, I think there's been a conversations around AI. I think not in the chat experience, but like in the home experience, like Alexa, Google Home, like stuff like that. But this is the first time that we're seeing actual like conversations around LLMs and chat experiences, which I think are different.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, we can talk about the ads specifically, but like in general, I hate that it's becoming this pervasive in our lives. It's like scary. Like I know, like I use AI a lot. Being a business owner, it's super helpful. But I think it being acknowledged in the biggest like advertising event in the U.S. is like it's crazy to me. Like that
I
we're
mean,
there
it's the
now.
I mean, they're just like every other brand trying to get consumers now. Like I
Yeah.
think it's just if we look at it just purely from a like a business standpoint, right? ROI is user engagement. That's just across the board. ROI is user engagement, it's brand awareness, it's all of those things. They are not different. They're not a different brand from the traditional ROI experience that marketers I think are beholden to.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised. I think it'll be interesting considering consumer sentiment in this moment around AI if it lands.
Mm.
Like, are going to people more safe? And I'll leave you guys to do that study. But do brands feel, do people feel more safe like watching after learning about them in a commercial, or do they feel more safe like understanding what's potential with AI? I think most of the AI ads are meant to show the use case for AI, which I think is like the lowest hanging fruit to kind of tell your story. But it's interesting just given the sentiment and how fearful people are. I mean, we've had AI for 15 years, 20 years now. Like AI has been around for a long time, in different ways. And
Yeah.
so now I think the consumer having access to AI is just an interesting perspective, and I'm interested if the ads are landing.
Yeah, I also, yeah, so in the I love the cloud ones, hilarious. The fitness one was just so funny.
I mean,
Another
the
one,
pauses by the actor, like it's so like it felt so real, right?
did
Like
you
when
see the therapy one?
the therapy one is, I mean, all like
The
both of
one,
them, they're
the
just like
mom.
that is so creepy. Like it's just
I watched that
like
one this morning because I didn't see it. Like I was going through that list you sent me, and I was like, so funny, so in such a like dark way, but
yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, it's weird. And I think like not also them not shying away from like that is the chat experience, right? Like is those
Totally.
pauses, it's not a natural flow of conversation. It is like a very much like getting sources and like let me research this for you.
Yeah.
So I thought their use of the chat, the figurative chat in those commercials was like spot on. It
For
felt very
sure.
real. Yeah.
What's another ad? So we talked about ELF, Dove. I thought your point about him and hers in the article, like for me, talking about the cultural moment, I don't know, that was like the most powerful one. Like
Yeah.
because it touched on something that you mentioned too, right, in the halftime show, like these issues of class, um, which I think are central to the story of Puerto Rico and its status as a territory. But the him and hers one, I was like, I was blown away. Like, wow, they went there.
Yeah, I mean, I applaud them too. It's like meeting, and I think this goes back to like we're in an age where we really need to meet people where they're at and like have the conversation that they're having, like internally. I mean, how big is the healthcare conversation right now? Like,
Maybe you could do like an audio recap for people on the him and hers ad, if you don't mind.
yeah. So the him and hers ad is basically showing an elite class of people getting concierge healthcare, right? And they're able to get their peptides at any moment and their vitamins and like have IV drips come to their house, and it's just the it's talking about accessibility to healthcare and like
The
who
healthcare
has
gap.
access, right? And I think what was cool about it was like them kind of stating, we know that this has only been available to a certain class of people, and we are trying to make it available to everyone, and like basically just addressing that this has always existed, like not shying away from concierge healthcare has always existed, like not shying away from that, naming what it is, and then also inviting people to come into that experience so if they so choose, right? It's still going to be cost prohibitive for some people. It's still not going to be accessible to everybody. But if they make it more accessible to 20% of the population, 30% of the population, that could actually change a huge drastic kind of conversation within families around healthcare and healthcare services. And I think they basically said it's not just for rich people anymore. Like, and
Yeah.
like I'm paraphrasing the ad, but that's essentially what they said. And I thought like we're having a crisis around healthcare where like this is not a a conversation that everybody is not having. I mean, even in California, as a business owner, my healthcare for employees went up 30%. We're seeing healthcare costs just rise across the country. People are losing their healthcare in this moment because of policy. So I just
And
thought
the
it was like
cost is going up and the
leaning,
quality is going down.
the quality is going down, cost is going up 100%. And like, I think it was just like, they just stated it. Like, they just didn't shy away from the conversation. And they also didn't position themselves as the concierge healthcare. Like, oh, you're for, like, they could have very well been like, it's only for it's this specific class of people. But they showed everyday Americans accessing their healthcare. And I think like that was just really powerful to see a brand just name it. Like we're trying to close the wealth gap basically, and without saying,
Yeah,
all
like
of
the
the
scene that stuck with me is like the guy waiting for his blood results before his Uber uh, he was an Uber driver, and his like Uber
Mhm.
rider was coming in, and I'm like, yeah, that's real.
That's
Like people
real.
are, it's like the gig economy, and likely is not is likely is uninsured or like and so they're like, I don't know. I thought that was powerful, the imagery that
Yeah.
they used.
Yeah, I think that was probably the most like on the nose of conversation, like just directly hitting the cultural moment that so many Americans are having. The other ad that I loved was Levi's. I just
Mm.
think like Levi's has a history of telling great stories with their ad, and I think them showing every utility case for jeans is like so universal. Like everything from like the recording artist in the studio to Toy Story, Woody wearing Levi's in the Toy Story
Right.
commercial, to like somebody, a laborer, and like somebody doing like just every worker type, like every type of person that wears a jean, which is universal. Everybody wears jeans. And so I just thought that that was such a good like story, and just so tight, and like, and then ending with Doechii, who's having one of the best, I think, musical careers ever, right? Like I just think, yeah, they just nailed it. They nailed it.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean that, and again, that was just like another one where it's like a through line with the halftime show, right? Just like different slice of life in every context.
Yeah, I think the ads, like, now I'm just like like thinking about the ads that I just talked about, like the ads that worked really well bridged culture together, right? They bridged multiple people, multiple segments, like they invited people in who could all say that looks like me, or that is me, or like I can feel that. Everything from like a healthcare conversation to I wear Levi's, like, my dad wore Levi's, he was a landscaper. Like I remember his 501s being all over the house. Like I think it's such a conversation to have around, like, and such a note that like people are watching to see how they fit into a brand. And and if they don't feel like they fit into it, they're going to exit, right? And so the conversation really needs to bridge and belong in culture. Like it's not enough to kind of build your awareness and just say take it or leave it. Like people can leave it, and they will. And we're seeing that happen.
I mean, so the Levi thing makes me think of, I think this commercial had, if if not Levi jeans, for sure, the Budweiser commercial that we talked about.
But
Um,
how such an interesting dynamic, right? Levi's is
exactly.
As American can be, right? Like such a different orientation to American culture and American values, and such a different juxtaposition between what the Levi's ad said and what the Budweiser ad said. And I think I was telling you earlier, like USA Today rated that number one on their ad meter.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, it was like, I thought like the laziest of ads. I thought, and I say this
Yeah.
like
I think it
fondly.
was the safest. I mean,
Oh,
well, I shouldn't
totally.
say
That's
safe.
what I meant like by lazy. It's just so safe. It's just so, but it's also so coded. Like
Although it's not
20%.
safe, right? Because we just talked
Yeah.
about Bad
Yeah.
Bunny being the safest choice. Them relying on that, lazy is a better word. It's just it's what they've been doing, and it's like I don't know. They've course corrected so hard since the Bud Light debacle
Mm-hmm.
that it's like, who are they even for anymore? Like
Yeah.
who's
I mean, and their Bud Light commercial with who is it? Shane Gillis and Post Malone and very country, rural wedding. Like, I just, it's so interesting to me. And not that the rural community doesn't deserve, I think they actually deserve better than whatever these ads were.
yeah.
But it's 20% of the population. 80% of your population is in urban cities and are growing cities, like cities that are actively becoming larger DMAs. And I think it's just how are you bridging that gap? Like, how are you bridging the person that's going from a rural area to a big city for more opportunity or for, a different experience? And Budweiser has that opportunity to have that conversation. And I say this lovingly because BBDO did that commercial. They also did my favorite Super Bowl commercial of all time, which is a FedEx commercial from 1998. And like, I still remember exactly where I was sitting when I watched that commercial for the first
Which
time.
one was it? I know you mentioned.
Called Apology, and it was for FedEx. And like, it's so funny. It's just like you have to be of a certain age to remember what happened when your TV signal went out. It was like a blank screen with all those colors, and then a bar just came through and it said, if this, something to the effect of like, if this commercial was delivered with FedEx, it would have been here by now. And it was just like so simple, but like perfect. Cause I remember being like, oh my God, did the TV go out? And like, my dad being like, oh my God, we lost the signal and it's like the Super Bowl, right? And like realizing that it's an ad. But I think Budweiser and Bud Light, like they have an opportunity to bridge where they were trying to go with where people are now. And like they're just not interested in doing that, or they're just trying to keep it so safe
Yeah,
that
I
it's
feel
missing the
like
mark
it's
entirely
come
for
from
everybody else.
fear, right?
I
And
don't know.
and like you're not gonna like nothing good happens from acting from fear from a brand perspective.
I
And
mean,
like we were talking about the USA Today thing, and I was like, no way. And so I looked up because it would get cut. It was it was voted on, so I like did a quick search on who their audience is. It's like leans male, 45 to 54, and that's like a strong audience, but they're not growing. Like they're not, and like to your point, like there's a way to tap into them that
yeah,
also
totally. There's
bridges.
a way to bridge.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. And at Team Friday, like that's what we do is we think about the bridge and like how do you bridge cultures together. I think, our focus, I think largely like your agency's focus is on cross cultural. Like we understand that culture is fluid and it requires conversation and it's an ecosystem of sorts. And so, we talk about that a lot. I think the Budweiser commercial too is an interesting case study on the backdrop of NFL, right? Like Budweiser, but and Bud Light, like they course corrected in a different way than the NFL did. Like the
Mhm.
NFL realized, oh shoot, like our demographic that we need to grow with, we are losing them because we made a bad play, with some of this, with some of the Colin Kaepernick stuff, and then some of the subsequent stuff that happened after, and we need to course correct to grow the audience. Like we're determined to grow. We need to build it out. And I think for Budweiser, they're like, oh no, we're just gonna keep the consumer the same. And so it's an interesting, like both of them have had moments where they've had to have critical conversations about what growth looks like and what their audience development looks like, and just have gone in like completely opposite directions. And I think Budweiser in this moment where you have a Super Bowl could have bridged that gap too. Like Budweiser is so iconic Americana. It's also like, isn't it from a German immigrant? Like I
which is
don't
one of my
know.
favorite Budweiser commercials. I think I
A
ever
hundred
shared.
percent. I love
Like,
that commercial. And so
yeah.
I just am like, what happened? Like, what, who, like,
So I went down
what
that
happened?
rabbit hole. Like, I went down the rabbit hole. Well, one, I wanted to ask you a question, and we'll save it. Like, who can we say is winning? Because right, we see
Mm,
two brands that experience a crossroads that made very different decisions. Like, who made the right choice? But in regards to the Bud Light debacle, right? With so it looks like it was April 2023. I think that was completely overblown. Like, and I think I don't, and I tried to get actual sales numbers that it was affected. And from what I did, like the research is that there was a small drop because of that. There was a very loud minority of people. I think Kid Rock was one of them. Funny enough, um, shooting Bud Light cans or whatever. But I think that it like the blowback was pretty quick. But overall, Bud Light had been losing share for years. To who? To Modelo. And so it's like I like that would have been a great time to okay, like let's reset, like we've been losing share. It wasn't this, like it's been happening for years. Who's the growing consumer, right? And
yeah.
instead of taking that opportunity to really, I think they could have turned it into a win. I feel like they sunk themselves into a further hole.
I mean, who are you building towards, right? Like that's always the question. It's like, who are we building towards? What are we building to? I think the Modelo, is so interesting because like their tagline is, for the people with a fighting spirit. Like I don't know, like if that like that could it be more American? Like of
100%.
just like, we're like Americans are always trying to fight for like a better America, right? And so it wasn't I think such a missed opportunity to have a bigger conversation of just for Bud Light to take a stand and say we need to we're interested in growing. We're not interested, like and this is going to help this is helping us grow or like this is the audience and like without saying that's the audience that they want to tap into. And it was a very specific campaign, right? Like I think it was during Pride, right? So like it wasn't out
And
of
what's crazy, it wasn't even like a digital buy or
no,
anything.
it
They
wasn't even a
literally
media
just
buy. It
sent
was
a
social media
bottle to
related.
someone, a
Yeah.
custom one-off bottle. Yeah,
It's just yeah. So I think, to your question about like who's winning and who's
who's win?
losing, I don't
Yeah,
yeah, like I don't know who's winning and who's losing. I know who's going to be relevant in 10 years and who's not. And I
mm,
think like they there's always room for brands to course correct, and like have bigger conversations about culture and tap into and they should engage people like you and me and other cultural marketers that understand how to bridge those gaps because we are American and we are this and we are that and I think Americans today are so multi hyphenated like and they're embracing the multi hyphenation. People are not trying to shy away from being multi hyphenated anymore. And the brands that are going to be able to tap into even one of those hyphenates and then be able to kind of deal with what's on the side of the hyphenation, like I think those are going to win. Those brands are going to win, and I think the NFL knows that. The NFL knows that Americans are multi hyphenated. They know that the world is multi hyphenated. I mean, Americans are probably are one of you probably know the statistic better than I do, but you know we only speak English. Like the rest of the world speaks 3 to 4 languages. Like the multi hyphenation has been there for a long time globally, and it's time for American brands to tap into the multi hyphenation. Like you're not gonna win. You're
yeah.
just like not gonna be relevant in 10 years because the trend, as we know, and as a person who's actively studying this around multiracial kids and multi-ethnic kids and what their identity is growing into, as a part of my PhD, like they're not interested in shadowing down. Like they're not interested in just being one thing. And the brands and the culture that I mean the brands that can tap into that culture and be a lot of things for a lot of people and still feel true to themselves, like those are the ones who are going to win. That's
I'm
just,
like, I want to add to that, but I think that's just like an amazing quote to end on.
well,
No, so
please add.
no, I mean, I think I want to add like because I'm taking it in the context of where we're at right now, and this Bud Light conversation and being reactionary and coming from a place of fear. I think it's important for brands to remember that this socio-political climate is temporary.
Hmm.
Like you got to think like 2020, we were in the exact opposite swing of the pendulum than we are now, right? And it's like it's gonna swing back. And the brand that's operating from fear, it's like every time you switch, you're losing consumers, as opposed to your point, meeting them at the hyphenate and growing to where you want to go. Like you're building in. You can keep your base and grow to where you want to go. It's not like an either or type of thing.
And I think to the point about USA Today and like that being for an older generation, the NFL knows that if they don't reach kids before they're 18, they're not going to be consumers of the NFL. And so, it's all about getting that growth area, right? It's all about hitting those growth areas, but you have to do it as authentically as possible. Like people are going to be able to see through. And I think kids who have way more access to information than we ever did, way more technical savvy, way more like they can see through the
And way more
inautism,
culturally aware,
way
I
more
feel like,
culturally
than we
relevant
were. Yeah.
because you know what? Because they're largely, in environments that have multiple cultures all the time. Like I think
Yeah.
growing up in LA, I was like, oh, doesn't happen everywhere. And then I realizing that it's now happening everywhere. Like, I think growing up in LA, you have a multitude of cultures all the time in your classrooms. And, for the most part, if you went to public school, I went to school in Glendale. So there was Armenians and Filipinos and Mexicans and, white kids and black kids. And, I had Brazilians in my class. Like you get exposed to culture because they're bringing their culture in. And I think you're now with migration, and we don't even talk about migration as like Americans moving to other cities. Like that's a whole nother topic,
Yeah.
but like they're bringing their culture, whatever American culture that they have from their previous location to the new location. And it's being mixed up. Like all of it is being mixed up. And kids that are coming are, being born today, we're in the first year of Gen Beta, but like Gen Alpha, like they have been exposed to culture for a really long time. And like since birth, like they're long live the days of like being in one population or one demographic. Like I don't think I think that happens in some places, but it definitely doesn't happen where the majority of people live. And if we don't meet them, then you lose the ground. Like you're saying, like the socio-political climate right now is temporary. I think the NFL took that bet too. Like they were like, yeah, we're gonna book Kendrick Lamar, and we're gonna book. And I mean, even J Lo and Shakira. I like cried when they got the Super Bowl announcement because I was like, oh my God, Latinas headlining the Super halftime show, and they were so Puerto Rican filled. And I mean, like, we're also talking about Puerto Rico like it's not a part of America. Like, Puerto Rico is as American as any other place. And if they don't want it to be American, let me just say this, like let them go. Let them be their own country, like the
Yeah.
fact that they don't have senators, they don't have voting rights, like unless they move to the mainland. That's why so many of them are moving. So
Yeah.
that they have access to rights. They have access to things that they don't have on the island. And they have access to opportunities that they can't get on the island because of the colonization of America. So I think if we don't want Puerto Rican culture, if we don't want Latino culture to be a part of America, then let it go. Like,
Yeah. No,
figure it
I
out.
think one thing that I took from, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but from the halftime show, I'm just like, the US is just so lucky to have Latin America as like the immigrant base. Like, and I just thought like that was just like a beautiful presentation of that, of Latino culture, and like how much we enrich the US, you know? How much we're a
Hmm.
part of the story, but like I don't know. It's like how can you not want that, right?
Yeah, I mean, and how do you not understand that it's beneficial for you? I
Right.
think that's the conversation, like I think the business, yes, the empathy brain of being Latino and being represented is always going to be at the forefront of my argument, but my business argument is like, how much money are you losing? Like, how much
Right.
money do you want to continue to lose by not engaging? And that's, like maybe you have enough money and you don't want to do that, but I don't know any business who's not in the growth business. Like, what are you here for?
Yeah.
And so I think that's the conversation now is like, are you going to meet people where they are? And I think like the thing that we also forget in America is that Latinos are all races, right? Like you have Afro Latinos, you have Latinos from and like Asian descent, you have, white Latinos, you have every sort of Latino. Like I was even reading an article around Puerto Ricans in Hawaii and how they've been there for 125 years. And so it's like they're everywhere. Latinos are everywhere, and they're not leaving. Like
Yeah.
we're not going anywhere. This is our home. We're gonna stay here. Are you gonna meet us where we're at? Are you gonna even try? I think that's the big question now.
For sure. Yeah, no, and it reminds me of you were talking about, was it Puerto Ricans in Hawaii? Mexicans have been in Hawaii since the 1800s. Then it got me, and the first ones that went there were the vaqueros that taught
To bring the horses.
to bring the horses, right? And then I'm thinking of Budweiser, and it's like, yo, there's the bridge. Like, cowboy culture is Mexican culture.
Okay. I mean, how many, if you even look at like the Kentucky Derby, like I did, I
No, I
love.
know nothing about that. So
Okay,
so
so
school
like
me.
it's you don't have to know anything, but like there's a good documentary. It's
I
called
know the
like I
hats.
think it's like the week before it's like 7 days, and like it's the 7 days leading up to a big event. One of them is the Kentucky Derby. 90% of the horse handlers for the Kentucky Derby are Latino. Like 90% of horse handlers in America, I would argue, are Latino descent of some sort. Like I don't you like the bridge is there, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
the bridge is like
I had
handed
no
to
idea
you
about
on a
that. I mean, that
platter,
makes sense. That makes sense.
Maybe I'm overcorrecting with the 90%, but a large population, I
It's
would
up there.
argue,
Yeah.
between Texas, definitely in Kentucky, definitely in California, like where there's large horse populations, like there are going to be Latinos who are handling the horses for sure. Could have,
Michelle,
could have,
awesome to,
could have, just put that on a platter for
right? Like, yeah,
it's
like
just like right
very good.
there.
So I found your article on LinkedIn. If people want to connect with you, what's the best way to like read your article, learn more about Team Friday?
Yeah, I'm public on LinkedIn, so find me, Michelle O'Grady Caballero, or you can go to our Team Friday site and shoot me an email. But yeah, we're around. Join me in the conversation. I'd love to hear what other people have to say. If
Yeah.
this resonates or this doesn't resonate, I'm always up for a healthy conversation around culture and where we can go.
Thanks again for coming back, and thank you everybody for listening.
All right, thanks Mario for having me.
Thanks to everyone listening in. To get more multicultural insights, check us out at thinknow.com and follow us on social media. You can also subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform.